That is because I am a free market, really.
No, you're not.
Oh my God! Look, he's totally stumbling. He's like, "Oh my God, is he gonna bitch slap me if I say I'm a free market guy?" And look, Eric even breaks in. No, you're not.
Well, this is
I'm not.
No, because
this is the conflict, the populist neoliberal conflict. That
he's like, wait, I'm not a free market guy.
Well, and that's what I think, and that's where the genius of Trump was, that he was he magically was a bridge from neoliberalism to populism that most people crossed and didn't realize they were crossing.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting way to frame it.
And Beck, I think Beck's smart enough to realize that crossing occurred, so he's kind of struggling with how he should frame his position.
So the problem with the neoliberal free market libertarian aspect is that you create massive wealth inequality. Like I said, the state of nature is very, 99% of people being extremely poor and 1% living in opulence. That's the state of nature. Right. So in steps populism and says, we're a bunch of working class guys who want working class jobs so we can raise families and have a middle class life. And you don't get that with neoliberalism. You don't. You honestly don't. So you're saying Trump is basically that bridge between the two.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's just so fascinating to me that the political party that was the face of neoliberalism is now, under Trump anyway, was trying to pose itself as the face of populism.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I don't know.
I'm
skeptical.
You're a smart guy and you know that market failure exists. So for example, if I produce a public good and it is both inexhaustible and inexcludable, do you want me to produce something of incredible value and to recapture none of the value that I create? No, you don't. The free market, in its idealized childlike sense, will make sure that I am punished for producing a public good. And no, thank you. I decline your free market by market principle. So if you're a sophisticated market guy, you're not going to look to screw over your own scientists who produced a public good for you.
Correct.
Okay. So let's congratulate.
But when I say free market, I must have an idealized vision of it. When I say free market, I mean a market where generally people play by the rules. The free market is, to me,
if you don't have a fucking umpire, no one's going to play by the fucking rules. Like, I don't know. That's so pie in the sky fantasy land. Like, right. we have refs for a reason. Okay.
Well,
like the government, like the government gets out of the way and we'll just referee ourselves. It's just fucking delusional.
Well, here's where the horseshoe comes in. It's interesting because the communists are basically like, and the Wokistan people are basically, in terms of racial progress, they say, there hasn't been enough racial progress, or the government hasn't solved racial progress the way we want it, or the government hasn't solved income equality the way we want it, so we need to just tear it down and destroy the system, right?
Yeah, totally.
Just do away with it and restart it.
Yeah.
And then
they're like, fire the umpire. The game is off.
Right. They're saying, let's fire the umpire and burn the stadium down. The game
exactly. We lost the game.
Right. And then this, where I say the horseshoe, is because the neoliberals are basically in the same boat. They're basically saying, the government only makes inequality worse. The rules only make things worse. The umpires only are biased to make things worse. So just burn them all, just kill all the umpires and let the players somehow sort it all out and they'll just figure it out on their own.
State of nature, 99% living in poverty, 1% in opulence.
I'm just saying it's funny that you have two completely different ends of the political spectrum.
Totally, yes.
Looking at the umpires, saying the umpires are helping the other guy way too much, and we just would be better off without them.
I would frame it this way, though. There are a million paths to the state of nature. There's just very few paths to the middle class society. The capitalist society. It is a capitalist society. You can't have capitalism without some sort of middle class, some sort of democratic process. Like Glenn Beck would be the first to say, let the market decide. The buyer. You're voluntarily opting into a society where You know, you buy, when you spend, when you buy, that's a genuine democratic process. It all breaks down if nobody has any fucking money, though.
Yeah, of course.
Like
Right.
the democratic, the market breaks down immediately if
Well-
nobody has any money. There is no market.
Right. And the issue is no one will ever play by the rules as long as there's not an umpire watching over their shoulder. I think so. Okay, well, to have the umpire needs to be funded by someone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's the government. And then
Yes.
it's like, but then everyone argues about, well, wait a minute, what exactly are the rules that the umpire is going to be enforcing? So, I mean, that's why it's interesting in this conversation when you get sort of what I would consider the empty platitude of, you know, I just want everyone to play by the same rules. That's the free market. Like,
Both-
okay.
Both parties really opt out of the debate, though, when the communists in the burn the stadium down and the neoliberal libertarians defund the stadium. Like they both check out of the real decision making on what are the rules of the game going to be, which is where
Right.
all the action is. Like the umpire's there to enforce the rules of the game. Let's argue about what the rules of the game are, not about like like these other superficial topics.
Right.
It's so sad.
You're the best capitalist is the one that says, how can I help people? How can I make their life easier? Right.
Not if they don't have any money. The capitalist goes, fuck off.
But I
Like,
mean-
well, I'm not trying to make those poor people, they don't have any money. Why am I trying to make their lives better?
Well, I mean, this is interesting. It's an interesting way of defining capitalist. I would never define the best capitalist. The person who's adhering to the
Innovators
most
are,
pure
definitely.
form of capitalism is asking themselves, how can I make people's lives better? Like,
No.
I don't think capitalism has that kind of moral structure built into.
No.
You should, I think, as an American society, we as America culture, and this is what Eric said in the beginning, how we're losing our culture and documents are going to save us. American culture can put that into capitalism, but capitalism itself doesn't have that moral framework.
Yeah. Capitalism is like a game. And it's amoral. It's like chess. There's no moral component to chess.
Right.
Chess is two people going up against one another trying to beat them.
Now,
Chess is a bad example, though, because chess is a zero-sum thing, and capitalism is not a zero-sum
not,
game,
yeah.
which is
No, but
which
yeah,
is the
no, but
betterment.
it's, capitalism. Now, I'm sure there's some argument against this, but at least now, without having some very deep thoughts into it, I would agree with you that capitalism is inherently it's not a moral system. It's amoral. It's not immoral. It's amoral, and it's just a framework of rules
Yes.
for governing markets and whatnot.
Yep.
many of our capitalists are like, how can I get rich? Instead of,
Yeah. We don't have time for this. You're not a free market guy anymore. That was then. We've
Yeah, this is the best part. He's like, fuck
You don't
that.
have time. We don't have time for this.
You're not a free market guy anymore. Change right here on live on your
he's
show
right.
live.
There aren't.
Well, he's right.
Glenn Beck
He's a
isn't a free
populist.
market guy.
He's a
He's not
populist
neoliberal.
now, right?
It's populist, yeah.
entered into it. Let me put it this way. Imagine that you have a pie that says all activity is in this pie that's economic, okay? And a tiny sliver of it were public goods and services, which constitute market failure. What if everything that I could produce almost can be turned into a small copyable file? So I replace, the calculator on my desk, et cetera, all sorts. Suddenly that little slice of the pie that represents market failure due to public goods starts growing. And imagine in a future world, crazy world, that the part of the free market that your thinking applies to is a tiny sliver. We haven't gotten there yet, but we could. Your point is, in a world in which most things are well seen by the market and few things are not, we should do almost everything through the market, and then we should do the little bit that we can't do through the market through taxing, like raising an army. You can't tell, I wish to opt out of U.S. Army protection. No, you have to tax people for an army.
right.
Okay, so my point is, you need to update fast, and I don't have time to explain it, but
Okay, but wait. But you're saying, I agree that we're going to have to update that because that's what's coming our way, but I don't think that's a good thing.
well, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But that's where we are.
Okay,
my
yes,
point
I
is,
agree with you on that.
the best parts of capitalism, free market ideology in the current era is not going to cut it, because just what we've seen,
But doesn't that include? I mean, assuming you're
I mean, the free market ideology is that's if you want to know why Trump and the Republicans did nothing for 4 years about the tech companies shitting all over so many people, it's because they're still operating under neoliberal free market software.
Yeah, they couldn't do it.
They literally couldn't. The Republicans couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
The Republican Party has been arguing since 1980 that you have to stay out of the way of business and you need to cut regulations.
Sure, totally.
So even though if Trump comes in, who's not really a Republican, I mean, he was never a Republican until he ran for president, right?
Yeah.
You know, come in and say we need to remove Section 230 or we need to do, have all these regulations. The Republican Party is way too slow to adapt because they're still operating under this neoliberal software. So
yeah, government needs to get out of the way. They don't want to even be a part of it. We're in a terrible situation too with the media companies because the party of regulation is going to regulate in their favor because they control the media companies.
Right, and that's what is scary and depressing.
It's way depressing.
The party that's usually the one arguing in favor of the regulations is actually being benefited by the lack of regulations for once. So
right,
they're not
totally.
going to.
Well, no, they are. I believe that they will regulate, but they're going to regulate in a Title IX kind of way that just totally benefits them. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
True. Yeah.
They're going to say, "Oh, you want regulation? Here, let us give you some." Yeah. Hate speech is a federal crime.
Right.
And it just so happens that everything conservatives say is hate speech.
Yep. True.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fucking terrible.
Well, we'll see.
See, this is the Republicans. They need to step up. They need to realize, okay, well, we got to have. They need to bring those conservative values to regulation. I don't know why they don't.
The reason is because they literally can't. You can't.
Yeah, you're right.
You're talking about like it's impossible for people to change their opinions because everyone puts their opinions on Twitter, and it's like, okay, well, the Republican Party, and most of these people have been in the Republican Party for so long. They've publicly made this position set in stone for
declaration.
the last 40 fucking years. So what are they supposed to do?
Yeah. Troubling. Very troubling.